सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। करणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम्। संज्ञामूर्तिक्लुप्तिस्तु त्रिवत्कुर्वतः उपदेशात्। संज्ञामूर्ति क्लुप्ति नाम रूप व्याक्रिया। The manifestation of names and forms is Trivutkurvatah, of the one who has brought about the Trivutkaranam or the threefold combination, meaning Ishvara. Upadesha, this is what the Shruti teaches here. Sayam Devata Aikshata, that Devata saw, deliberated, Hanta Hamimaha Tisro Devataha Anena Jivena Atma Anupravishya. The Devata called Sat or Brahma said that I will enter these three subtle elements as their Jivatma. Nam Rupe Vyakarvani iti, and then we bring about the manifestation of name and form. Tasam Trirutam Ekaikam Karvani. I will create, or I will make them all, each one of them, threefold. Thus, all of this is done by the Sat. The Devata called Sat is not by Jivatma but by Ishvara. On the page 590, introducing next sutra, Bhashyakara said, Tasam Tisranam Devatanam Bahisthrivutkrutaram Satinam. Last three lines of the Bhashya. Of the three Devatas, Bahi Trivit, the three devatas, or the three elements, the element fire, water and earth, Bahi Trivit Kritana, of which the process of threefold combinations externally has been explained, established. Adhyatmam aparam Trivitkaranam uktam. Shruti also talks about another Trivitkaranam, another threefold combination, Adhyatmam, at the individual level, at the level of the body. Purokta Vilakshanam, different from the previous kind of Trivitkaranam, they talk of another Trivitkaranam at the level of the body. Imaha Tisro Devataha Purusham Prapya Trivit Egaika Bhavati. The teacher says, Hey Somi, O good looking one, may you now understand from me how these three devatas, the fire, water and earth, when they come to or they are consumed by the human being, when they get associated with the human being, how they also get divided in three ways. Adhyatmam, Dehe, Trivitkaranam, Aparam, Karatraya Rupena Vartamanam. This Trivitkaranam, this threefold combination is that each element gets divided into three parts. That's the Trivitkaranam. Externally, we were told about combination of three elements. As we said, how each element is divided into two. The second half is further divided into two. To each half, you add the 1/4 of the other two. That is how the Trivitkaranam. Here at the level of the physical body, however, Trivitkaranam is that every element gets divided into three parts, three components, the grossest, the middle, the subtle. So, Karya Rupena Triatmika Bhavata, so Vartanam, Karyatra Rupena Vartanam, that gets converted into threefold effect. So why is that sutra being told here? So tad idanim acharya hai yatha shruti eva upadarshayati. So acharya Bhagavan Badarayana darshayati shows yatha shruti as is stated in the Shruti. Ashankidam kanchin dosham pariharishyan is a view to refute or eliminate some dosha, some defect that the Purvapakshi will bring out. So Purvapakshi will bring out a defect on what? On the Trivitkaranam, the threefold combination that or division that takes place at the individual level. In that, the Purvapakshi has some objection. To remove that objection, you must first state what is the reason, what is it about which objection is raised. What's the Vishaya of objection? The Vishaya must be first stated, then Samshaya, etc. So, Uttara Sutrena Ashankidam Dosham Nirasitam. The Sutra 22, in fact, refutes or removes the doubt. For doing that, Ado Shankavesham Adhyatmika Trivitkaranam Darshayati. That Shanka is with reference to the threefold division at the individual level. Therefore, that threefold division at the physical level is first told, and then the doubt will be told and how the doubt is resolved. So we read the Sutra 21. Mamsadi bhaumam yatha shabdam itarayoscha. Mamsadi bhaumam. We saw this. Mamsada ityatra adi shabda annam ashitam tredha bhavate. The Upanishad says, Annam Ashitam tredah bhavati. The food that you consume gets divided into three portions or three components. Iti shrutya purisha manaso upalakshaka. So mamsadi, flesh, etc. in the body. Bhaumam, this flesh which is there in the body is a product of bhumi or product of earth or food. Yatha Shabdam, this is what the Shruti says. We don't have a way of verifying that, we accept what the Shruti says there. Yatha Shabdam. Itarayoscha. So just as mams of the flesh is the product of food or element earth, so also the speech and the prana and the speech are the products of the element water and the element fire. So mamsadi, mamsa purisha prabhuti, the flesh, the excretion, etc. Trirutkutayaha annatmikayaha bhumehe karyam. Understand that already Trivrit Karma has taken place outside. So bhumi, the food that you consume, is already Trivrit Kritam. Then it gets divided into three. So evam itarayoscha ap tejasvavi yatha shabdam. Similarly also how the element water gets divided into three components, element fire gets divided into three components, yatha shabdam is to be accepted in accordance with what the shabda or the shastra says. Mutram lohitam pranasya apam karyam ityadi shastram anusrutya. That mutram lohitam pranasya apam karyam, the product of the element water is urine, blood and prana, the vital air. You need to take it as it is, Yatha Shastram. So Vashyakara explains, if you want to read Nyaya Nirnaya, and the last line on page 519, Nanu Vaisheshikaha Manasa Nityatvam Sankhyaha Vang Manasayoho Ahankarikatvam Ahu. So Sankhya's Vaisheshika say that the mind is Nityam. For them all these dravyas are, the 9 things are eternal. Of which mind is one of them, Atma is there, 5 elements are there, etc. 7. Manasa Nityatvam Sankhyaha Vang Manasayo Ahankarikatvam. Whereas Sankhya say that the speech and the mind are product of Ahankara. Annamayata cha Manasah Anna Sambandal Lakshanartha Tadupyoge Swasthyad. Then how come Upanishad says that mind is product of food? The Sankhya say that the mind is the product of Ahankara. Here we are told mind is the product of Annam or food. Annamayata cha Manasah Anna Sambandhat. Because mind has a connection with food. Therefore, Lakshanartha. By Lakshana Vritti only we should understand that mind is the product of food. Tad upayoge tat swasthyad. Because when you eat food, then only the mind is strong. When you don't eat food, mind becomes weak. This is what the Upanishad says anyway. Then Nyaya continues, Vachopi tejomayatvam patavena tejasamyameva. That the speech is tejomayam, is of the nature of tejas, element fire. Patavena tejasamyameva. That is because when the speech is very proficient, then one is bright. So the proficiency of Patavam the skill in speaking is comparable to the brightness of fire. Therefore, you say that speech is a product of fire. Tatraha mamsadi iti mamsadi bhaumam mana adi bhaumadi iti vaktavye. Instead of saying mana adi bhaumam, that's what Sutrakara should have said, mana adi bhaumam. Instead of mamsadi bhaumam. Mamsadi vachanam siddhena sa sadhyasya mana ade drishtantartham. Essentially, everybody knows that the flesh in our body is a product of food or element earth. It's already siddham. So, with the help of that, we want to establish, all the Shruti wants to establish also, that mind also is a product of food. Sadhyam, that is to be established. Therefore, mamsam is presented as a drishtanta, as an illustration, to show how mind also is the product of food. Says Nyayana, yatha mamsadi bhaumam, just as the flesh etc. is a product of bhumi or element earth. Evam vang manasevi tejasa bhaume shabdavashad jnyetyartha. Similarly, vang manasevi, the speech is a product of so tejasa, fire, and manaha, product of bhumi or earth. Shabdavashad jnaya. This is the only way we can say is because Shruti says Shabdavashad jnaya, that the prana is a product of water, or mind is product of food, or speech is product of fire. That conclusion is based only on what the Shruti says, Shabdavashat. Sutrakshani Vyachaste. Now Bhashyakara explain the words of the sutra. Bhumehe. So Bhashya says now, page 591. Bhumehe Trivitkృతాయాః Purushena Upabhujyamanayaः Mamsadikaryam Yatha Shabdam Nishpadyate. Trivitkృతాyaः Bhumehe, the element earth, that has already undergone a threefold combination of the element earth. Purushena Upabhujyamanayaः, when that earth in the form of food is consumed by a human being. Mamsadikaryam Yatha Shabdam Nishpadyate. From bhumi, from food, mamsadikaryam, the effect, namely flesh, etc. Nishpadyate is brought about. Food brings about the effect in terms of flesh, excreta, or mind. Yatha Shabdam Nishpadyate. We will accept it in keeping with what the Shastra says. Yathasabdam Vishadayati. We can ask, what do you mean by Yathasabdam? Where does the Shastra say this? Then Bhashyakara explains. Tathahiti. Tathahi Shrutihi Annamashitam Tredha Vidhiyate Tasya Yaha Sthavishto Dhatuhu Tatpurisham Bhavati Yo Madhyamaha Tanmamsam Yo Anishthaha Tanmanaha Iti. This is Shastra, Shabda. annam ashitam treda vidhiyate. The food that is eaten gets divided into three components. Tasya sthavishto dhatu tat purisham bhavati. Of that which is the grossest portion, that becomes excreta. Yo madhyama tan mamsam. The middle part of this food becomes mamsa or flesh. Yo anishtha tan manaha. And the subtle part of the food becomes mind, meaning it nourishes the mind. Iti. न्याय से भूमे मांसादि भाव सूत्रित तद अयुक्तम. Sutrakara says mamsadi bhaumam. So flesh etc. are the product of bhumi or the element earth, which is what Sutrakara says. Tad ayuktam, it is improper. Udanasyeva tathatva drustehe. Udana means rice etc. that it gets converted into flesh. Where is bhumi? Where is element earth? Trivrititi. Or says Ratnaprabha, Nanu annamayam mamsadi katham bhaumam. Same thing. That flesh etc. is a product of food. How do you say it is the product of bhumi, element earth? Satraha. Trivritkrita bhumi eva iti. So Bhashyakara says Trivritkrita bhumi eva esha व्रीह्यवादि अन्नरूपेण अद्यते इत्यभिप्रायः. So Trivritkrita bhumi. So व्रीह्यवादि अन्नरूपेण. Understand that the rice and the barley that you eat is a modification of the element earth, which has itself undergone a threefold combination of that earth. The modification is the rice, barley, etc. So when the Upanishad says, when Sutrakara says, Mamsadi bhaumam, flesh, etc., is a product of element earth. In what way? That element earth, which has already gone through the process of threefold combination, gets transformed as the grains such as the rice, barley, etc. So when you consume rice, barley, etc., you are consuming earth, transformed in that form. So what the Sutrakara says, Mamsadi bhaumam, is quite alright. Yatha shabdam. सूत्र तात्पर्य मुक्त्वा श्रुति तात्पर्य आह. No, then tasyasya. So this what sutra says, mamsadi bhaumam yatha shabdam. That's what the sutra says. So Bhashyakara already explained. What the Shruti says, annamashidam treda vidhiyate sthavishto dhatu purisham bhavati, that Bhashyakara explains. तस्याश्च स्थविष्ठं रूपं पुरीशभावेन बहिर्निर्गच्छति मध्यमम् अध्यात्मं मां संवर्धयति अनिष्टं तु मनः. Tasyasya sthavishtam rupam, of that element earth, which is transformed in the form of the rice and barley, the food. Of that earth, yat savishtam rupam, that which is the grossest component, purisha bhavena bahirnidgacchati, it is discarded as excreta. Madhyam adhyatmam mam samvardayati, the middle portion of that food at the level of individual body it only nourishes the flesh. Anishtham tu manah. So vardhayate, we have to say, the subtlest part of the food goes into nourishing the mind. Then sutra says itarayoscha. So what is itarayoscha? Itarayoscha iti bhagam vyakaroti. That part is explained. Evam iti, the Bhashyakara says. Evam itarayoho aptejasoho yathashabdam karyam avagantavyam. Evam itarayoho, of the other two. That itarayoho is the sutra, part of sutra. Up tejasoho, itara of the other two means what? The elements water and fire. Yathashabdam karyam avagantavyam. So we have to accept that water, when it gets consumed, drunk, it gets divided into three components. The grossest component is rejected as urine, the middle component becomes blood, the subtlest component goes to nourishing the speech. So that's what Bhashyakara said. Itarayoho aptejasoho yatha shastram karyam avagantavyam. So what is that karyam? Bhashyakara says, evam mutram lohitam pranascha apam karyam asthimajja vag tejasah iti. Evam, in this manner, itarayoho sutra shabda means what? Up tejasoho, the other two elements, water and fire. Now, yatha shabdam karyam avagantavyam. That water gets converted into these three products, the fire gets converted into three products, is to be accepted as the Shruti says. See, you do not question Pramanam. What the Pramanam says, you accept it as it is. So right now, your faculty of hearing is saying that these are words being heard. You accept them. No, Swami could not speak in English, he must be speaking in Gujarati. So Buddhi cannot question what the Pramana says. Similarly, Shruti says that from the water, these three things are born. So that's what we accept. Mutram lohitam pranasya apam karyam. That's urine, blood, and prana is the product of up or the water. Asthimajja vak tesayiti, and the bone, and then the majja is the what do you call it? The fat? No, marrow, right? Marrow. So bone, marrow, and speech are the products of the element fire. Says Nyaya Nirnaya, Jaladhina sthititvat tat karyatvam pranasya upacharyate. We don't, how do you say that prana is a product of water? Because Shrutyantare tasya vayu karyatva siddhe. Elsewhere it is said that the prana is the modification of the air, and water is the product of fire is the product of air. So you can't say air is produced from water. What is produced from air? By that sequence, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Japa, Prithvi. Therefore, Jaladhina sthititvat tat karyatvam pranasya upacharyate. So that prana is the product of water. Upacharyate is said in a figurative sense because Jaladhina sthititvat, because prana remains in this body as long as water is consumed and then it departs from this body. That being the case, in a figurative sense, it says that prana is the product of water. Or when Shvetaketu did not consume food for 15 days, of the 16 kalas, 15 kalas were gone. So only one kala remained, that way he could not recollect anything. The mind capacity all was also gone. That's how you say that the mind is the product of food, or mind is nourished by food. The food is gross, how can it give rise to mind that is subtle? And water is gross, it cannot give rise to prana that is subtler than that. Jaladina sthititvat. Because the prana remains in his body as long as water is consumed. Tat karyatam pranasa upacharyate. Therefore, that prana is the product of water is only said in the figurative sense, not in the primary sense. Shutyantare tasya vayu karyatu siddhe anyatra apavad abhavat. Suppose elsewhere you find that no, prana is not the product of vayu, prana is product of something else, then you may have to question. But we do not find that apavada anywhere. Everywhere it is accepted that vital that prana is the product of vayu. Mukhyametat karyam viveka hai. So primarily prana is the product of vayu. In a figurative sense, prana can be said to be the product of the element water, because vayu is there as long as water is consumed. Therefore, secondary sense. Ratnavara also said that pranasya vayoho apkaryatvam aupacharikam drashtavyam. That prana, which is vayu, is the product of water, is only to be understood in a secondary sense. So that way the sutra 21 is complete. Proceeding to the next one, evam vishaya muktva dosham shankate. So vishaya has been stated. What is the vishaya? Trivutkaranam, taking place in the human body, physical body, is now being questioned now. Some doubt is raised about that. So dosham shankate atra iti. Whereas Anandagiri says, avisheshena sarvesham tyatmakatve katham annadi shabdavachyata iti chodayati. So this was already discussed, that each of the three elements is present in everywhere. What you call annam also has water in that and fire in that. Then how do you call it annam? Why not water? Why not fire? All the three elements are present. Why do you call this thing annam, other thing water, other thing fire? How? So that is a question asked. Atrayati. Bhashyakara says, Atra aha. Here the Purva Pakshi says, Yadi sarvameva trivitkritam kritirvitkritam bhuta bhautikam avishesha shrutehe tasam trivitam ekaikam akarod iti. Yadi, now what is trivitkritam is something to be imagined. The Shruti doesn't say trivitkritam means what. Shruti says, I will convert them, or I will make them, each one of them threefold. Threefold means what? So we say that making threefold means dividing and then combining that way. That description is not found in the Shruti. So threefold can be all the three are joined together also. That also can be threefold. So not that kind of threefoldness. That's what the idea is. Is sarvameva trivitkritam bhut bhautikam avishesha shrutehe shruti tasam trivitam ekaikam akaroditi. So the Chhandogya Upanishad says that this deity Sat, made each one of them threefold and threefold. So, yadi sarvameva trivirkritam, sarvam bhuta bhautikam, if all the elements and elementals, all of them are the trivrita, they combine in threefold way. Avishesha Shruti, because Shruti doesn't say. Without specifying, Shruti says that each one of them is made threefold, threefold. So if this is so, then किं कृतः तर्हि अयं विशेष व्यपदेशः इदं तेजः इमा आपः इदमन्नम् इति. If all the three elements are present in all of them, then किं कृतः अयं विशेष व्यपदेशः, this specific mention or designation that what is it? Idam tejaha, this is fire. Imaha apaha, this is water. Idam annam, this is food. So this specific designation is given. So food also is all the three elements, water also is the three elements, then why do you specifically call it food or water? Iti, so that's the shanka. That's samshaya. बाह्य व्यवहार विषय सम्मुक्त्वा देवितद सम्मवाह. How, if the elements are combined in threefold way, you cannot designate one element as only fire, because the other two are also similarly. Same defect also will be at the individual level. The same three elements get so divided into threefold ways. So Vashyakara says, Tatha adhyatmam idam annasya ashitasya karyam mamsade idam apam पीतानां कार्यं लोहितादि इदं तेजसः अशितस्य कार्यं अस्त्यादि इति. तथा means similarly, same problem also arises at the individual level. How? अध्यात्मइदं अन्नस्य ashitasya karyam mamsade. That when you eat food, that food only gets transformed into flesh. Why not food also gets transformed into other things? Why only do you say flesh? And then again, idam apam pitanam karam lohitadi, that blood is the result of only water and not of food. And flesh is the result of food and not of fire. Idam tejasah ashitasya karyam asthyadeti. This bone etc. is a product of the element fire which is consumed. How do you specifically say that? When you consume food, then other two also are consumed. Because food is trivirkritam. So water and fire are there, and similarly in water also other two are there. So all this was discussed in Chhandogya, but then point is, it all comes from here. How do you say that? Because in stomach all of the three get combined. The food and the water and the fire, everything gets combined. Then to say that from the food mind alone is nourished, from water the prana alone is nourished, from fire speech alone is nourished, how do you say that? To that the Upanishad had given an example. So dadhi, when you take the curd, and then when you do the manthanam, churning, then the butter, which is the lightest part, rises up. That becomes then clarified butter, ghee. Similarly, when you take water and when you take food, when they get churned, it makes sense that the lightest part should rise up, so mind is above. So when the food is churned in the stomach, the subtle part rises and goes up. When water is churned, the subtle part rises, goes to speech. That's how with an example the Shruti tried to explain that. Because Shvetakadu had the same problem. Tad uttaratvena sutram so uttara sutram avatarayati. The following sutra is introduced Bhashyakara atra uchyate. To that, this is what the Sutrakara has to say. Vaisheshyattu tadvadastadvadaha. Vaisheshyattu. Tu shabda hai shanka vinashaya. The word tu is for refuting the doubt. Sarvesham prithvyadinam trivutkarana avisheshepi. Even though each of the three elements is divided into three and threefold combination takes place for each of the three elements, then still. So that is avishesha. Then vishesha, how did it come? So vaisheshyat. So combination is without any difference. Same process applies to all. Then what brings out vishesha? That this is fire and this is water. Svabhagasya prachuratvat. It is called fire because the element fire is the preponderance of element fire. In water is preponderance of element water. Tadvadaha. Prithvyadi shabdena prasiddhi vyavaharaha. Vada means what? Vyavaharaha. By the words that this is Prithvi, this is Apaha, this is Tejaha. Tadvadaha, Tadvadaha. That word is repeated. Tadvadaha, Tadvadaha. Dvitiya, Tadvada shabdasya adhyasya parisamapti suchakaha. The second, the repetition of Tadvadaha is to show the conclusion of this particular chapter. Second chapter, Avirodha Adhyaya. It's called Avirodha. In the second chapter, the vision of the Shruti, that Brahma is the subject matter. Brahma is Jagat Karanam. Brahma is non-dual. Brahma is Atma. So that was pitted against other Smritis and other views and our experience also, and from then it is established in the second chapter that Brahma is one without a second. It is Atma. That's the only reality. That was established in the second chapter. So tad uttaratvena sutram vyachaste. Tu shabdena, Bhashyakara says, tu shabdena chodyatam dosham apanudate. Vaisheshyattu. Tu is, however, is to refute the dosha, the samshaya, the doubt that was raised. To refute the doubt, the Sutrakara uses the word tu. And Bhashyakara explains further. So Vaisheshyat, what is Vaisheshyam? Visheshasya bhavaha. Vaisheshyam. The state of being Vishesha, specific, is called Vaisheshyam. The state of being Vishesha means specific. Not general, but specific. Means what? Bhuyastvam iti yavat. What it means is preponderance. So Vishesha here means preponderance. So Bhuyastvam Vivranoti. How that element is predominant, and that's why designation is there. So Bhashyakara explains. Satyapitrivat karane kvachita kasyachita bhutadhatoho भूयस्त्वम् उपलभ्यते अग्नेः तेजो भूयस्त्वम् उदकस्य अभूयस्त्वम् पृथिव्याः अन्नभूयस्त्वम् इति सत्यपि त्रिवृत्करणे, even though the threefold combination is there. Kvachit kasachit bhuta dhatoho, kvachit at some point, kasachit of some. So bhuta dhatoho, of this substance called the three elements. Bhuyastvam upalabhyate. So in many places we find predominance of one element. Agnehe tejah bhuyastvam. So in fire there is predominant of element fire. Udakasya abhuyatvam. In the element what we call water has all the three elements but preponderance of element water. What we call fire does have the three elements, but that is the preponderance of the element fire. So, upalabhyate, this is what we find. Prithivya anna bhuyastvamiti, the earth is, so has the predominance of the annam, or the food. So bhuyastvam viranoti satyapi. Afalatvat apripadyam trivutkaranam vidashankyaha. Well, what ultimately is the purpose of trivutkaranam anyway? Why are these elements combined in this threefold way? Why? Afalatvat, if it does not serve any purpose, anything that you do must serve a purpose. There cannot be anything done without a purpose. We may do that without purpose. But you don't expect Ishvara to do that. Ishvara would not have done the Trivutkaranam, the threefold combination, if an important purpose is not served. But we don't find what purpose is served. Afalatvat apratipadyam Trivutkaranam. Because the threefold combination does not bring about any result or any benefit. Therefore, what's the use of delineating that? So, Vyavahar, Bhashyakara says, or his Anandagiri Ratnaprabha says, Swabhaga Adhikyam, not Swabhava, it is Ga and not Va. Swabhaga Adhikyam Vaisheshyam. Swabhaga adhikyam, the preponderance of its own part. Vaisheshyam, that's what brings about the designation. Kimartham krutam vyavahar prasiddhyartham. So, why do you call this fire? Why do you use the word fire or water? Vyavahar siddhyartham, for us to carry out the day-to-day transaction, everything has to be named. Bring that thing. Suppose you say, what thing? Bring it. For what? Bring my clock, bring my watch, bring something. So all our transaction is based on designating things. If this was not called table, this was not called chair, not called book, suppose this kind of designation was not there, then how can you carry out your day-to-day transactions? You cannot. Therefore, naming has to be done. Every rupa must have a nama. But then, in case of the three elements, what is the basis of name? When all the three are present in all of them, then why do you name this particular thing as fire and that particular thing as water, etc.? What is the reason? Svabhagatyam Vaisheshyam Kimartham Krutam. Idea is that when Ishvara made them threefold and threefold, what Ishvara did was that he kept that element 50%. He kept a preponderance of one element. In what is the so-called gross fire, there is preponderance of the element subtle fire. He did it so that we can call this fire, we can call this water, we can call this earth. So Vyavahar Prasiddhyartham, this is what and Bhashyakara says. Vyavahar Prasiddhyartham cha idam Trivatkaranam. Vyavahara Prasiddhyartham. Vyavahara means Shabda Prayogas, utterance of the word is called Vyavahara. But then here it is transaction. All our day-to-day transactions are possible only when a designation is there. Says Nyayana, ekaiga bhuta gocharatvenapi vyavaharasya sukaratvat न तादर्थेन त्रिवृत्करणमिति आशंक्याः. You should have left them alone. Then we would call them fire and water and earth. Why do you combine them? To call them fire, water and earth, why do you combine them? Already there are fire, water and earth, and you could have named them as such. So why do you combine them for designation, for vyavahara? Says Nyayana, kevala bhuta tanmatranam indriya agocharatvat tadartham tadukti ityartha. Because remember that the three elements when they first created, they are in their subtle state, meaning not perceptible. Therefore, you could not have identified those three. Therefore, all of them are grossified. In the gross product, Ishvara kept also predominance of one element so that you can call him appropriately. So tadukti vyavaharascha trivitkrita rajjuvata ekatvapatyau satyam न भेदेन भूतत्रय गोचरः लोकस्य प्रसिद्धे. Vyavaharasya Tirutka Rajjuvat. If a rope is made from three strands, they are twisted together to make a rope, let us say. Egatvapattau. Then in the rope, each of them has an equal presence. And therefore, Egatvapattau, then all the three became one. If the three elements are combined like three strands of a rope to make it one, so three elements are combined like that to make one. Na bhedena bhutatraya gocharo lokasya prasiddhyeta. Then you could not have separately identified fire, separately identified water, because all of them are combined like a rope. You can't say that. So rope suppose has a green thread and a red and a yellow. Then they're all intermixed. You can't say this is green only or red only, yellow, because all the three are there equally. न भेदेन भूतत्रय गोचरो लोकस्य प्रसिद्धेत. So भेदेन, distinctively, you say that this is fire, this is water, this is earth. Like distinctly you identify them. That would not have been possible if they were all combined like the three strands of a rope. The Bhashyakara says, Tasmad Satyavitavrit Karane वैशेष्यात् एषः तेजोबन्ध विशेषवादः भूत भौतिक विषय उपपद्यते। तस्मात् सत्यपि त्रिवृत्करणे. So even though the threefold combination is there, Vaisheshyat, so you go back, you infer that this is how it must have been. Trivutkarana must have been there because we find the preponderance of one element and you designate it that way. So that's how combination must have taken place, with predominance of one element and the secondary presence of the other two elements. तस्मात् सत्यवि त्रिवृत्करणे वैशेष्यात् एष तेजोबन्ध विशेषवादः भूतभौतिक विषय उपपद्यते. So even though Trivutkaranam is there, Vaisheshyat eva. So only because the preponderance, Tejobandha Visheshavadaha, this is called Tejaha, Annaha, Ab, Bhuta Bhutik Vishaya Upadyate, then only you can designate that this is water, this is fire, or this is earth, and that's how the transaction would take place. So that's how Sutra is explained. Then Bhashyakara says, Tadvadastadvadaha iti padabhyasaha adhyaya parisamaptim dyotayate. Vaisheshyatu tadvadaha tadvadaha. You know, in the Upanishad also there is repetition of the last phrase. Here also tadvadaha tadvada iti padabhyasaha. That one word tadvadaha is repeated. Adhyaya parisamaptim dyotayati. It reveals the conclusion of this adhyaya, of this chapter. Iti. Okay, so that concludes this particular sutra. I think tomorrow now we will go to the other sutra. Page 644, 3 to 18, 19 and 20. These three sutras we will do tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Gururatmeri Murti. Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.